Hi, hello, I'm Hope, and I hope you're all doing well today. Today we'll be checking out the subreddit called r/MaliciousCompliance. Let's start by reading about the post where OP has to stay at work, which gives them an extra day off, and it's titled, Stay Until It's Done? Okay, I'm doing it by the book then, and getting an extra day off. I used to work as a supervisor in my last job and was directly working with a union. Some of my managers really didn't want to deal with things when it came to workplace injuries, so I had to deal with most of them. If you've ever worked with a union before, this is a very long and time-consuming process. While important, very tedious. So that brings us to one evening. I was on my second double in a row of 3 and very much ready to go home. As I wrapped up my area, my evening manager texted me to assist another supervisor with an injury. The supervisor was newer and needed to be taught. I informed them that I was already there on a double and needed to come back in the morning, and was there anyone else or could they help them? This manager was notorious for passing their work on others. He texted me, no, and I had to stay until it was done. Okay, I have a written documentation of a directive. Who am I to say no? Alright, well then, since I'm teaching, I'm going by the book. I opened up the union and company policy of workplace incidents and followed it step by step. By the time we got to the drug test portion, the local clinic we use was closed and we needed to call it in. This is important because if you don't use the local clinic, the out of area takes 4+ hours to come out. While that was processing, I did a lengthy investigation with the union. I spent the entire night going by the book, taking pictures and documenting everything I could. By the time I finished and the drug test finished, it was 7 a.m. and my shift started in 30 minutes. This is the time the morning manager came in. They're one of my favorites and why I pick up mornings all the time. When she saw me, she said, "Oh, you're early." I said, "I never left." Her face dropped because they have a rule that while management, including supervisors, can work more than 16 hours, if they work more than 20 hours, they need a 24-hour rest. I wasn't in a union, but still hourly salaried and got overtime for over 8 hours in a day. So not only was I going to not be able to make the morning shift, I couldn't make my evening shift either. I was still gonna be paid for both while being sent home. She asked me who told me to do this, and I showed her a message from the evening manager telling me to stay until it's finished. I went home and enjoyed my extra day off into weekend. When I came back, I had an interview about the incidents with the senior manager. After showing my messages, which the manager tried to delete, but only did on his side, I was dismissed without any issues. The manager was written up by the senior manager, so they had to pay me 2 regular shifts plus 24 hours of overtime. Needless to say, I stopped picking up after no matter how much they begged. Sometimes the managers, hell, you people in general, just need to stop and think. Hey, what are the possible consequences that my actions could bring? And then act accordingly. Obviously, not everything can be known about the futures, and yes, it is easier to look at the past events with present clarity, but we can still speculate and make informed decisions. And deleting the messages? Your manager was a complete asshole for that. This next post is just a good short funny story about taking things too literally, and it's called Pretend the Lot is Full. Many decades ago, when I was a student enrolled in a driving school, the instructor told me to pretend the lot is full and park the car. It was very early in the morning, so the shopping mall we were practicing at was empty. I knew the pretend it's full part was meant to emphasize the importance of driving slowly and cautiously and centering the car between the lines, but my teenage brain couldn't resist the obvious opportunity to act as the main character. I slowly drove up and down the lanes and around that lot for at least 5 minutes before the instructor finally got flustered and barked, "What are you waiting for? Park the car! You told me to pretend the lot is full." I give the instructor full props for accepting my main character humor of the moment as I watched him shake his head while his expression morphed from anger through realization and into a smiling instruction to just park the car. Wow, I can't believe I just read that. An actually good instructor with a sense of humor? One that can recognize he's done wrong and just smiles and laughs about it? Is this the American dream I keep on hearing about? The next post is about an angry customer who becomes even angrier after OP does what they wanted them to, and it's titled, "Turn my service off right now!" Okay. I work for a major cable, internet, TV, and home phone provider. That one that is probably the most hated. You know the one. No, I don't know the one. I presume this is a brand that's well known in the States, so if anyone knows which one is it, I'd be curious to know. Anyhow, the department I work in is responsible for either saving a customer or turning their services off. Call came in transferred from our tech support team, and by this time, the customer was already on the phone for an hour. Tech agent was able to get services back up and running, but he was now asking for a large credit for 1 day of services out. As soon as I got on the phone, it was demands. "Here's what you're going to do. If you can do this, then turn my service off immediately. I no longer want to be a customer." I tried to calmly explain to this very rude man I could not credit him over $200 for 1 day of service, but would be more than happy to process a credit more appropriate. He declined again and again, demanded that his service be turned off immediately. I reiterate the immediately part to him, and he says, "Yup, right now." Cue malicious compliance. I turned off all his services right there, that very second. He started screaming that he was watching that, and what am I going to do without internet? I told him I was only doing what he asked. This ended with me restoring services and giving him a credit appropriate to his 1 day outage, which we figured out was user error on his end. Yeah, I don't know which man this plan bought, but I don't think anything is worth $200 for a day. I can see the side of, yeah, you can't use any of your stuff, so of course the compensation should be a bit more than just how much you'd pay for a day, but still, $200 is insane. But also don't be a jerk. Customer support won't be nicer to you if you're meaner to them. There is no secret discount that you can only get if you're rude to the employees. Oh, and also kind of funny how it turned out it wasn't even the company's fault. One of the commenters said, "I was hoping this ended with him using the phone services you provided to call you, so his call suddenly cuts out." And then the OP replies, "It has happened before, and it used to happen so much that they have a whole built-in system that keeps the phone active for a half an hour after disconnect." Yeah, I was also expecting the call to just stop after OP canceled the services. But alas, the company knew this kind of situations happen. This next story is a bit longer than others, so you'll have plenty of time to give this video a like and subscribe to my channel while I'm reading it. It's called "You Don't Want the Female to Take Lead? No problem." This is a small bit of maliciousness that happened years ago, but to this day is still one of my favorite stories to tell. So there needs to be a bit of context to this one for you to understand the beauty of what happened. I was in traditional Kung Fu school for 9 years. My Sifu, aka the teacher, was one of the most honest and respectable men I've ever known. In this school, there was certain etiquette you had to follow out of both respect for the art and your fellow students. We had things like bowing before entering doorways, always facing north to take off our sash, stuff like that. Keep in mind that we weren't just teaching students here. We fostered a family and treated one another as if we were all brothers and sisters. One of the rules was that the men wore their sash on the right, while women wore their sashes on the left. I'm a trans male, and my Sifu was one of the very few people who knew this. My Sifu and I talked about it when I came out to him because I was concerned about how it would affect the etiquette of the school, and we both agreed that neither of us cared how I wore my sash, so I just kept it on the left out of habit. Very friendly conversation. At my school we did a performance every year for Chinese Year called the Lion Head Dance. We would do this for restaurants, schools, or even event centers. We even got to perform for the Chinese consulate at one time. Basically, one person is the head of the lion while the other operates the tail, and we work together to cleanse space to ensure a year of good fortune for the establishment and scare away evil spirits. Everyone always loved these events, and it was some of the funniest performance I had ever done. There's drums, dancing, firecrackers, the whole deal. I was almost always in a lion with my Sifu because we made a surprisingly good team. One year, we went to this little Chinese restaurant who hired us to do our normal thing. We get there, we set up, lay out the equipment and begin stretching before the performance. This performance was one lion, with me in the tail and my Sifu in the head. As we were talking and getting ready, suddenly the owner of the establishment walks over to my Sifu and I see the most disappointed look on his face. My Sifu asks if everything is alright, and this guy just stared on my Sifu through gritted teeth. He originally asked why I was standing there, and my Sifu, while confused, said that I was his tail for tonight. The owner said that this was highly disrespectful because a woman should never be in performance and should never be the lion. My Sifu, with now a deadpan look on his face, chuckled and basically said, we don't live in the days of Chinese dynasties anymore, sir. This is my student, I'm their teacher, and they are more than welcome to perform and represent my school. The owner kept off about how it's disrespectful to the culture and how it shouldn't even be in the show because I was female. My Sifu looked back at me, looked at the owner, got a cheeky little grin at his face and said, "No problem." He turned to me, grabbed my sash, twisted it to the right side, bowed and addressed me as Didi, meaning younger brother, before turning back to the owner. He had the most shocked and appalled look on his face, and it took me everything I had to not just burst up laughing. The owner huffled, told me to just do the show, and stormed off. And just as a cherry on top of this interaction, I went to get into the tail, and my Sifu stopped me, motioning for me to get into the head of the lion. So I got the lead show of the night, and the owner just had to sit back and deal with the fact that he didn't get his way by throwing a sexist fit. The year after, we got hired by the same restaurant, and my Sifu, instead of rejecting it, made absolutely sure that the performance that night was all female students. The owner didn't say a word. I really like this story, the sweet revenge part, since now only women were in that performance. And speaking of sweet revenge, I've made another video about sweet revenge stories from edits, so if you want to watch it, I'll link it at the end of the video. Our last story for today is titled, "You must use the self-checkout." Yes, sir, but it's not going to work. I was at a local gas station and it has a self-checkout system. It also takes food stamps. The rule is you have to go to the register, not the self-checkout, to use food stamps card. I was there today with a food stamp card getting me some lunch, and the guy was manning the self-checkout. It came to my turn, and the following conversation happened. "Cashier, come on up." "Oh, I've got to use the register, I've gotta..." "No, you can use the self-checkout, now come up. You're wasting time." "Sir, I have a food..." "You must use the self-checkout, come up now or leave." "Yes, sir." I walked up and scanned my items and tried to use my food stamp card, and like I knew it, it didn't work. "Cashier, what the hell is going on with that dumb thing?" Me, showing him my card. "Sir, I was trying to tell you I have a food stamp card. I have to use the regular register." "Cashier, come over and let's get this over with. The next customer can get this one." I walked over, paid for my items and left. All I could do is walk out the door and laugh. If only the cashier let OP speak and didn't interrupt them, then there wouldn't be any problems, but he decided to be a jerk for no reason, and well, this is the result. If you enjoyed this video, you should click on the screen to watch a video all about petty revenge. And thank you for watching this video. With your help, I'll be back in hell in no time.